Hi, you guys. Welcome back. And of course, if you are new to this channel, welcome. My name is Tracy, and in this video, I'm going to explain all of the Clairs, which are Clairvoyance, Clairaudience, Clairsentience, and Claircognizance. So stay tuned. The Clairs are kind of like your inner senses. So just as you can see with your eyes and hear with your ears, for instance, you also have an inner sense of seeing and an inner sense of hearing, for example. So in this video, I want to talk about the Clairs, which are those inner senses. And with these Clairs, every single person has the ability to be connected with these inner senses. It's just a matter of how in tune with your inner voice you really are. So for some people, working with the Clairs will come very easily to you, whereas for other people, it might seem like you need to work a little harder. But if you do not give up and continue to have a willingness to learn, you can definitely still tune into your Clairs to understand what your team of light is trying to communicate to you in so many different ways. Now, I have spoken about this team of light in previous videos, especially when I'm speaking about communicating with angels, with ascended masters, or with loved ones who have passed away. But your team of light is made up of all of that. Your team of light is God or the universe or whatever you call the energy that just pervades all things. But your team of light also includes loved ones who have passed away, guardian angels, archangels, and also just spirit guides even that you have. So if you learn to tune into your Clairs, you can certainly become tuned into this inner wisdom and a wellspring of knowledge that you have built into your spirit. So in this video, I'm just going to be introducing you to the Clairs, which are Clairvoyance, Clairaudience, Clairsentience, and Claircognizance. And I really just want to introduce you to these inner senses. And as I go over each and every one, I want you to kind of be thinking in your mind which one of these inner senses that you have been using unconsciously all along. And so whichever of these inner senses that you feel the most connected to and like you've been using the most without even knowing it, that is the sense that you should definitely begin tapping into as you learn to develop your psychic abilities. The first of the Clairs that I'm going to be speaking about today is Clairvoyance. Clairvoyance is clear seeing, but the problem with that is that it's not exactly clear, if you know what I mean. Because we are so used to using our outer senses, whenever we do tap into our inner sense of seeing or clairvoyance, we tend to doubt what we receive as a message, or we tend to just kind of downplay the value in whatever thought that we're receiving through the messages that you're seeing in your mind. So clairvoyance is a skill that you can definitely tap into, especially if you are someone who sees images of the past, present, or future, similar to a daydream, flashing through your mind that also have accompanying feelings of knowing or some type of knowledge or wisdom attached to those images. So an example of how I've used clairvoyance is a lot of times while I'm in meditation, I will receive visions. And those visions obviously will come with a sense of knowing. And so one that I do like to tell, a vision that I've had, is when it came to tanning in a tanning bed. So years ago, I used to use a tanning bed all the time. And I just felt like there was nothing wrong with it whatsoever. And I was completely reckless and just using the tanning bed excessively. One day I was, having a meditation session, and during my meditation, I saw a vision, and that vision came with a sense of knowing that the tanning bed was not good for the health of my skin. And so it came with this very vivid vision of myself and my skin and what it looked like while it was being lit up with the artificial lights inside of the bed. And that gave me this sense of knowing that there was something kind of hidden underneath the surface that could eventually come up to the surface if I didn't stop. I felt like it was going to be detrimental to my skin in some way. I just felt like it was actually taking life force out of my skin cells, if you know what I mean. So anyway, the vision that I had received during meditation told me that, but it was the only thing in my life that actually made me literally stop tanning at the drop of a hat. So I found that to be quite interesting. That was definitely a specific example of clairvoyance. Now, another way that I receive clairvoyant images is whenever I'm giving a healing session to someone, I do sometimes receive visions during those healing sessions that kind of show me either where the ailment is originating in the body or in the chakras, or sometimes I've even received visions kind of showing me the actions in that person's life that lead to the physical illness that we are working with, while I'm giving them Reiki. So those are just a couple of ways that I've noticed clairvoyance being used in my life. But you could definitely see it in a multitude of ways. But if generally, like I said, clairvoyance is where you see an image in your mind, and it could be like a movie or a daydream, and that image comes with a very strong sense of knowing. So now let's move on to the next Clair. The next Clair that I'm going to tell you about is Clairaudience, which is clear hearing. Again, it's kind of ironic that it's not necessarily always the most clear. But if you're experiencing words, phrases, songs in your mind, things like that, that actually help you or give you a sense of knowing or a sense of peace in a particular situation, then it is likely that you are connecting with the Clairaudience. So a couple of examples of where I've used Clairaudience in my life. There was one specifically when I was at the School of Metaphysics as a student. It was only my teacher and I in the entire building, and we were about to begin a meditation. So as we sat down to meditate, obviously the building was very, very quiet. Now, the front door of the School of Metaphysics has bells on the door, so that way anyone in the building would know if someone was coming in through the front door. So as we were closing our eyes and beginning this meditation session, I suddenly stopped and I asked my teacher, "Did you hear that?" And he said, "What?" I said, "It sounded like someone came in the front door. I thought I heard the bell to the door." And so, before beginning our meditation, he got up and went downstairs to check and see if anyone had entered through the front door. He came back up and said, "Nope, nobody had come into the building at all. So we sit down to meditate, close our eyes to begin our deep breathing, when suddenly the doorbell rang again. And this time we looked at each other and he said, "Well, I heard it that time." And so we go downstairs, and sure enough, someone had walked into this school building and they had a question and wanted to purchase a book from the school's library of books. So that was definitely a case of clairaudience where I heard something happening right before it actually happened. So that one was very easy for me, obviously, to put into my clairaudience file, because the reality happened right after the clairaudient message was received. Now, it doesn't always happen like that. There have been times where I've heard an entire phrase come in through my mind, and when I look up at the person who I heard say it, they're not even saying anything. So there have been times where I've heard someone's thoughts literally going through their mind, but that's only really happened, at least in my experience, that's only happened where I've heard like someone's entire phrase as though they were speaking to me when they weren't. That's only happened if they're actually thinking specifically about me. So it's like I can hear what they're saying about me in their minds, if that makes sense. But yeah, I can definitely tell that it's a clairaudience because the voice is not like my internal voice. It's actually the other person's voice entirely. And it sounds as though it's coming in through my ears, even though it's in my mind. So something similar to that would be a case of clairaudience. Other examples would be like songs being stuck in your head on repeat, but then when you actually go and listen to the song, you realize that there's like maybe a little message in the lyrics of that song that you were supposed to hear. Or sometimes the song just gives you peace in a time where you need it, or something along those lines. And in those cases, that is also clairaudience. So let's move on to the next Clair. And the next Clair that I'm speaking about today is Clairsentience. Clairsentience is clear feeling or clear knowing. Well, not knowing. It's clear feeling or clear sensing. So if you're experiencing clairsentience, then that is when you have like a gut feeling about someone you just met, whether positive or negative. A lot of us use clairsentience without even knowing it because so many of us actually do follow our gut instincts about people, about places, and about situations. So if you get those gut feelings and you're following them, that means you are experiencing clairsentience. It's that clear feeling. It's a sense of feeling over something. So one way that I like to use clairsentience in my life is when I'm reading tarot cards for people. Because the cards are simply images that are then interpreted by the tarot reader, I definitely connect with my clairsentience when I'm reading the tarot cards for other people, because there are some particular cards that can mean different things depending on the person that you're reading. So I really do connect with that clairsentient part of myself, that gut feeling, to kind of direct me as I'm doing tarot readings for people, to kind of help me understand if the message that I'm picking up is correct or not. So that's like following my gut feeling and using clairsentience to do it. So a lot of us, like I said, use gut feelings. Sometimes, I know not as much now that we have cell phones, but back when we used to have the landline phone, and when someone would call us at home, and sometimes you would know who it is before you even pick up the phone. It's that type, that is also clairsentience, that clear sense of knowing. So now let's move on to the next Clair. And the next Clair that I will be talking about today is the last one for this video, and that is Claircognizance. Claircognizance is a clear sense of knowing, which is when spirit impresses you just with a truth that you simply can't seem to deny. Now, claircognizance is the one that takes the most amount of faith to trust, because it really is an internal feeling. That's really all it is. It's a sense of knowing without even knowing how you know. So it's like knowing something without having any facts around it. So sometimes claircognizance is a little confusing. It's a little harder to manage and, to work with. But the more that you connect with it, the more that you can connect with that inner feeling, and the more that you will know when the feeling is right. Now, one example of claircognizance in my life is actually a story that I've told you guys before. It's about my angel number 876. So I'll go ahead and put a link to that video up above if you haven't seen that yet and you're interested in the full story. It's quite interesting. But basically, I looked at the time and it was 8:44, and so I started adding that up in my mind. 8 plus 4 plus 4. So that would be 8 plus 8, that's 16. 6 plus 1, that's 7. And then, in my mind, I just kept adding 844 up in different ways until finally my mind lit up with the number 876. And I had this very strange knowing that I needed to figure out what the number 876 meant to me in my life. And so therefore I kind of followed the number, and I looked up some information about the significance of those numbers, 8, 7, and 6, and also about angel number 876. And in that video, I also explained that I even find proof of this being kind of like my life purpose number on my driver's license. So it's actually interesting. So go watch that if you haven't seen it yet. But the claircognizance in that story is really just where I knew for some reason that 876 meant something to me. And when I looked it up, 876 is all over my birthday numerology. It's on my driver's license, even in a very inconspicuous place. And it's kind of like a nudge from my team of light, kind of pushing me in the right direction and showing me different parts of myself that maybe I need to know at that time. But it was the claircognizance, that sense of knowing without knowing how I know, that made me actually even follow the numbers in the first place. So now that you know all about the Clairs, I want you to take a moment and really think about which of these inner senses that you are the most connected with. And once you've kind of figured that out, you can then begin to follow that sense more and more to develop your inner psychic abilities. So stay tuned for my next video, you guys, because in my next video, I'm going to explain to you how to develop psychic abilities. So in that video, I'll be giving you some kind of step-by-step tips on just ways that you can actually begin to still your mind so that you can then build those psychic abilities within yourself. And that will just enhance your life in so many ways. Well, that about wraps it up for today's video on understanding the Clairs. I hope that this video helped you guys to understand all of our inner senses and will help you to understand which of those inner senses that you are most connected with. If you like this video, be sure to give it a like. And of course, if you're a viewer but not yet a subscriber, I am inviting you now to please click subscribe right under this video and become a part of this growing YouTube community. Thank you guys so much for watching and for spending your time with me. I love you. And I'll see you next time. Bye.